The Courthouse and Property Committee meeting to order. You can do the prayer.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hooker's going to do our prayer for us.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for just another wonderful day, being able to serve Bedford County and the wonderful citizens. Just help us as we go through these processes to make the right decisions for our county, and let us keep just you in mind as we make these decisions, and all the citizens in this county. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay, we have everyone present tonight. The first thing on the agenda is the approval of the January 23rd Courthouse and Property Committee minutes.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, is there anyone from the public that wishes to comment on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll go forward. The Codes Department.
So, you see my report in front of you. I was a little late getting back. This is shows at bottom right, it's probably the biggest, quickest look, is our total revenue. Fiscal year to date is where we're at. Building permits are probably start to climb again starting next month. They tend to slow down in December and January just due to weather anyway. So we're still kind of trucking along. It's not really falling off, even though the charts have the downward trend. That's, again, typical. And I feel like they'll pick back up in February.
Glad to have you back.
Good
Yeah.
to be back. Very good.
Thank you. Does
Thank
anybody
you.
have any questions for Amy? Okay. All right, next is planning and zoning. I don't think he's here, is he? Okay, that's right. Okay, and IT.
Hey there. So you have my report. I don't have anything to add to it right now. If you have any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you. Fire department.
You have a copy of my report, and I don't have anything to add to the report at this time, but I do have a request for some surplus items, and found out I think maybe you received it in the email,
We did.
pictures and stuff.
We did.
For the commission meeting, we'll work on getting it on the big screen. That TV won't read the format that I put it in, so that's my fault. But those trucks, I gave you the information. The only one that we're requesting anything for is that 1982 Suffolk Custom Pumper was purchased by the Unionville Volunteer Fire Department, and they've requested that any proceeds that it brings goes back to that department through their contribution side, through the county, and that's kind of their agreement. They purchased the truck. I think it was like $53,000 at the time, and we know it won't bring that now, but, whatever it brings, we would like to, and I think we can do that through
Mayor.
finance, and that's the way the agreement has always been written with the volunteers. If the volunteer department purchased the truck, the county sold it at surplus and would send them that money back. Now, if it's a county purchased truck, the county gets that money back, and I keep those separate.
Okay.
And I just want to say, yeah, we're in agreement with that. And these guys, including the fire chief, has individually went on bank notes. And of course, you've been in fire and know how you do it. The volunteers themselves actually sign off on some of these notes to buy some of the equipment they get. So certainly when those cases come up, we need to give some form of credit back to them, and that's what
Yeah.
you're referring to as it relates
Yes.
to that. And I think it's our expectation that we would do that with any of the different, it just so happens Univille's who we're talking about, but we would do the same thing as we roll out the others. And
Okay.
you've personally been on the note.
I
and-
still am.
Yeah, on one of the places, but we have also transitioned to that, I'm proud to say. Now we have a process where the individuals don't actually go on the note. The county is the cosigner. And that's really the most
the way it
correct
should be.
way that it should be, so that it's
Right.
not individual,
Yeah.
because this hits their credit report. If he goes out to buy a new truck, it'll show up on there
It does.
as a, and so that's not fair to the individuals
that's not.
at all, so.
We're already
that's-
having enough hard time to get
Absolutely.
volunteers, we just shouldn't have them that finance stuff too.
State's talking about that too. The day of volunteers are very difficult, and you're gonna wind up having to pay people just to be ready, so it's
So-
coming.
When we do our motion for the surplus, then we need to make sure we include that in the details of that, or no?
Yeah, that this particular one truck
Okay.
referred.
Okay,
Okay, all right.
And then the other two are those Jeeps, and they came on loan, well, before I was in this position. So if you remember Aaron Womble, he run the civil defense at that time, and he had these two trucks that he had picked up in Arizona, and the fire department took them, and I did build fire trucks out of them, but there's no titles to them. And I talked to the county clerk, and she said we could sell them with no titles, and then whoever purchased them, it would be on them. So I just really didn't want to go through the expense of tracking down who owned it before. They have to sign a bill of sale and get it back in the county's name, and then, so my recommendation that we sell them as is with no title.
okay.
And she said we could do that, and then whoever purchased them, probably we would want them for parts. They make monster trucks out of these parts because they are military trucks and military axles. And somebody might want one for just farm use and not ever tag it, so.
That makes sense. Okay. Do you have any other questions?
Madam Chair, I guess I'll make a motion that we surplus both the 1966, both,
I think that's going to be in the new
oh, we
business.
got to do that later?
Yeah, new
Okay, well
business.
then I'll hold on.
That's okay.
Sorry.
It's all right. You can do
Oh,
that in just a few minutes.
That's fine. I did have something else. Chief, you have a retirement of one of your volunteer chiefs? Is that correct, that they just announced?
You talking about war trays? Yeah.
No, I'm talking about,
Oh,
is it
Philip.
Union?
Philip,
Union.
Yeah, Philip Duggets. Yeah.
And just, I thank him for his many years of
He's
service.
40
He's been
years
there,
of
yeah,
service,
As long as
yeah.
I remember.
and to be honest with you, he kept a lot of our equipment running. Between him and Earl Adcock, they worked on a lot of our trucks, and technology has outrun us, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And another note, if y'all don't have any more questions on that.
Okay.
I just wanted to kind of bring, and I'm not boasting by no means, but I think it deserves to be said, that Bedford County, over the past 2 years, in federal grants and state grants, has received $965,590. That's pretty amazing, which our last one was pretty significant. The upcoming FEMA grants that we'll be applying for is for heavy rescue trucks. Ours is 21 years old. It's on its second engine that we've had put in it. The body's still great. The chassis, it's okay. But we're looking to maybe, and we'll be, if we can get our numbers together, we'll be looking at talking to the finance committee as to which direction we go. The vendors that built the truck and people who build fire trucks, they won't re-chassis anything that you have. They'll sell new, but they don't re-chassis. So there's a few companies out there that do, and we got to get the truck to them before they'll even talk to us is what that dollar cost. But we are applying for a federal grant, and right now it's looking like that they'll only go $800,000 on a truck. These trucks usually run well over $1 million, so for a heavy rescue truck. So we're applying for that grant. Right now, they're telling me if we order a truck in July, it could be 2 to 3 years before you could ever see it because the market, everybody's buying up these trucks. These
When's the
fleet
deadline
companies.
for the grant?
I think sometime mid-March.
So-
Yeah. And then, like I say, we're applying for that grant, and we did receive another state grant in the amount of $76,363. And I talked with the mayor to have that put in my equipment line item. And that's to buy additional air pack bottles. If you remember, we got the air pack grant, and the government only allows you 1 bottle per pack. And anything after that, you have to buy. Well, volunteers and the county, we did purchase some spare bottles, but it doesn't get us to where we need to be. In surplus, I probably, throughout the county in spare bottles, I probably had close to 250 to 300 bottles. So we're trying to get back to that number. And so a bottle right now is $800 a piece, so we're in need of about 60 of them. And then also with that funding, we want to buy some parts that go to the new air packs. There's little O-rings here. When you change bottles, there's an O-ring there, and a lot of times they get damaged or you lose them or whatever. And those are what we call field serviceable parts that we can do right there in the field and get them back in service. And then I want to send 2 guys to a tech school to learn how to work on them, so I don't have to ship them to the manufacturer and get them back. So that's what we'll be doing with those funds once they arrive, and it should hit us about March, and then we'll have to amend the budget to get it back in the line item that it needs to be in.
Sounds like you've done a lot of work to get that
Well,
taken care of. And
it's
save us
a
some
lot
money.
of people, and I could sit here and I don't want to name everybody because I'd leave somebody out, and I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, but it's not just the fire department, it's the mayor's office, it's finance, I mean, HR department, we get data from Shane, all this data has to go in to hit these grants, and we have some good people helping us that can write from the heart, you know, sometimes that's what it takes. We tried the professional grant writing before. When you read their narratives, every department is worded the same, they just changed the name. So we started singing from the heart instead of professional.
There you go.
But like I say, it's a lot of people involved, and you as county commissioners, because there's a portion of it you have to fund, you know? The county has to fund, and it takes you to agree with what we're doing to help us down the road, so.
That's great.
Sorry.
Does anybody have any other questions for Mark? Okay, thank you. 911. Yeah, we have the report, yeah. Does anybody have any comments on that report? Okay, Media GIS, he had to leave a little bit early. But one thing I wanted to point out is it looks like we've kind of had low subscribers on the monthly newsletter. And there's information on our website, I believe, to be able to link to the newsletter. So that would be good to put out to your constituents to sign up, because that would help them become better informed. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve all the reports.
Motion to approve.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, as far as old business, we didn't have a quorum, so we need to elect a chair and vice chair.
Motion to elect Julie Sanders as chair.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed? And then we need, currently our vice chair is Commissioner Hooker.
I'll make a motion
Okay,
for Drew Hooker.
second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, next is the workhouse surplus building, and I know that Commissioner Hooker had reached out wanting to know you were looking at, you can tell them more about it, for the homeless, what you were looking for.
Yeah,
And then I'll tell you
so,
my side, what I know.
yeah, in the homeless task force, it was brought up about trying to identify a location across the city that could be a temporary shelter during just cold nights. Because we kind of struggle at the last minute trying to get a church to open up and be able to do those things. The question came up from our group about the RC Cola, the old RC plant that we've talked about several times as a temporary. And then the mayor reached out to him for the group, and he said that there was going to be some other things that needed to be to happen before we could even entertain it. So.
Right, correct. And I know that we had an email that went out to our committee members from John T. Bobo that basically said that they would have to have safety engineering and claims management, says the adjusting firm that represents the county insurance pool, and they were familiar and say they said that the building would have to be inspected and the conditions were likely not suitable for public access. And I know they had said before that we could only use it for storage, because it wouldn't be up to codes. It would require some construction.
Yeah, or some investment back in that
Yeah.
facility. And so I didn't have a study done. I can if you guys want it. I don't know what it'll cost. I don't think it would be astronomical, but there'll be some fee because somebody would need to lay out specifically what it's certainly not public access at the moment. As they vacated it, they simply took the things that they needed and left the other stuff. There is a component of it where the surplus is currently staying. It's really down on the other end. And again, it's not public access. It's just the employee and one worker that's in and out, not unattended. One thing I would say, I don't know how I feel about warming shelter for that as the county being responsible, but I recognize the need, and we certainly probably need to think about or be a last resort, but not a first. And I know you're not advocating a first resort, but I just say all that to say this. If for some reason we get something going with the city and the Riverwalk and some of those things and potentially need to do something different with the old drive-in building, which now probation is using. There was somebody made the comment to me that I wonder if that could be a fallback place, a little piece of the front of it someday there, because they talk about the value of this area, not necessarily that building. And so if you do get on your mind about potentially trying to salvage that building as opposed to maybe sell it, that's probably something we ought to keep in the back of our mind because there is sort of a front office area. Again, it was kind of not, it was left abruptly and it would need some attention, but you could possibly be there a couple of days a week. I would hate to see us mess up people being compliant with their probation. I'm not saying that's the solution, and I'm not saying we won't be where we're at for a long time. I don't know
It's just
how
one of the
that goes,
options we should
but something
consider.
to file in the back of
Yeah.
your mind, because otherwise I really have not heard or come across something where it seemed like that building makes a lot of sense to hold on to it if you could find a buyer for that made sense. But I'm not aware. My office has not been contacted by anybody that's particularly interested in purchasing it at this time that I know of.
And the cost of building another surplus building would outweigh what our value is.
Right, it may very well now, of course, I think there'll be some other talk about that, but I believe the school system is looking to move their bus garage, and so out to maybe the new facility, and Sweeney, as Jeff Sweeney's here, I almost said Commissioner Sweeney, former Commissioner Sweeney. And so he could make some comment to that. But if that was to open that area up over there, that would potentially be a place where you could put a small pole barn style facility that could be for surplus. Again, it makes no difference to me which way you go with that, but we need to be thinking about how you would do it. If you ever want to unload this facility, you're going to have somewhere for surplus to go. I think we're
Right.
too big now to just think that we could put it in one of the fire stations or one of the basement of the courthouse or whatever else that we might have done in the past with surplus, or people just hold on to it. So I do think we have to think about the long game, but I don't know that there's an immediate one way or the other regarding the actual place.
Okay, what is the wishes of the committee regarding the workhouse?
I think from the homeless task force side, I think we're almost through most of the cold weather for this year. I think we can limp through, and I don't want to spend any money to do anything, but maybe we can take that up in future. If we need to look at other options with that building, maybe we could have that conversation.
Well, and I know in the past, we've had some nonprofits that's approached us, they did once, and then it was going to be too big of a cost for them to rehab the building, and so, that's something to know up front that, we could be approached by another nonprofit regarding the homeless in the future. You never know, but anyway, it sounds like currently we need to keep it for surplus, but it's whatever the wishes of the committee is. Okay. All right, so we want to defer that, I'm assuming, then, or do we need to do
Yeah,
anything?
let's-
Yeah.
Not surplus, but you had any thought of transitioning it or making it available? I think, it's my understanding, you certainly could surplus it, but doesn't mean that you have to sell it, but you can't sell it if it's not surplus. That's the only
Well, I
deal
think
there.
we figured, once we surplus it, it's out of our hands. And so, it was with the way we did the jail, because it never came back to us. Once we surplused it, the next thing I know, it's getting torn down. So we never saw that again once we moved it to surplus. No, out of the commission. Once the commission voted to surplus that building, we never heard about that building again until it was being torn down. Because as far as I understand with Robert, once we surplus it, we are basically signing that over to finance to do with what, if they have the money to tear it down, then they can. If they don't have the money, then they come
Yeah,
back
we
to us.
budgeted to tear it down.
It was
No,
a-
I get
Yeah,
that, but what
yeah.
I'm saying is if the money's there to, if, say we surplus that today, and the money's in the budget, it'll never come back to us.
Yeah, if you approve the budget and it's in the budget to dispose of it, correct. That, yes,
Yeah.
that would be
The
correct.
commission did vote on it, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
voted,
yeah,
it
yeah,
just-
yeah.
We
But you're
just
right,
voted
doesn't-
to surplus, it just, we
Correct.
never saw it again until it
Correct.
started. to-
Yeah, the surplus is what puts it in motion, then
Correct.
for it to go through the government, the executive branch structure of it.
Right.
Right, correct.
Okay.
We just need to be prepared. If we go to make the trigger to surplus something, we probably can assume we'll never vote on it unless it goes above and beyond what's already budgeted.
Correct, but the commission level does vote for the surplus. It
Yes.
doesn't just
No,
land here.
I know.
Yeah, okay,
What
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying is once we vote on it, it goes to commission
It
and
goes out of the
it
committee.
surpluses, it's
Yeah.
out of the commission's hand at that point. Yes.
Okay, next on our old business is juvenile detention facility, and we have Jeff Sweeney here to give us a small presentation, and you have a copy, well, the committee has a copy of the juvenile detention center drawings.
I just wanted to give an update on the juvenile facility.
We can see it.
When we originally started, the state's going two directions now. One of them is I call the Club Med direction, where they have the couches and long-term care. We chose to do the B plan, which is more of a lockup facility, because we are not keeping kids long-term. We started out with 10,000 square feet. We've probably had 3 years of meetings, Linda, with
At
Commissioner
least.
Yaki, Judge Rich, Kelly, and Julie's been involved. So we have been meeting with Bell's Construction and Klein Sweeney, and we have reduced the building down from 10,000 to 8,800 square feet. We were ready to start on construction drawings, and the state sent out a letter from Mark Anderson 2 weeks ago that they were looking at reducing some of the required square footage for youth. So we put everything on hold. We hope to have a call next week with all the parties, and hopefully we can reduce some more footage out of it. We have taken the full kitchen out. We've gone to a day kitchen, but also putting in plumbing for future if we decide to go with the kitchen. The green area is not under roof. That is outside activity area. That would be our expansion area. We're trying to construct all buildings that will have easy future expansion. We've lowered the pitch of the roof. We've cut down the day areas in the boys and girls area over 200 square feet to get down to the minimum state requirement. So after next week, our goal is to have construction drawings by May, put the project out, and have construction start in late July, have it completed by next May. Yes, ma'am.
How many cells?
We'll have 18 kids. We can take up to 18 kids. Yeah.
Okay.
So there'll be nine units. We started with a budget, I believe, of $5 million. Is that correct? We hope to have that down to in the fours. Right now, we have completed the survey. Geotech was completed in January. Civil is being worked on currently. I'm sorry? Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Fixtures, furniture. Okay, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Sweeney?
I hope to have you some real drawings after the state releases their requirements next month.
We have an idea of how much per square foot this is gonna cost?
I don't know, Drew, because they haven't given us, I can tell you based on this right now, we're looking at $400 a square foot, but we've reduced it down. So, I mean, we've taken so much out of it to get to where it will take care of Bedford County over the next 10 to 15 years, but also we're not, trying to win an award for beauty contest.
The bed system and all that is built
I'm sorry?
in. The bed system.
Yeah,
and those
everything
things,
is
the
built
day
in.
room, all that's just like a.
The FF&E would be the classroom area. That's really and the refrigerators and stuff, microwaves, but there's not a lot of FF&E in this project. It's mostly security cameras. With this setup, we are able to use cameras and not add a lot of employees. We've made some modifications. When they come into the area that one employee can do the check-in and the shower area, because every youth is showered before they come into the facility. So we've tried to make it where we can currently use the staff that we currently have. We're not adding to it. Anything else?
Everybody understands this would be out where the jail and justice center is, but it cannot be connected. and
So,
it can't
so
be
we have
inside.
two major requirements, sight and sound. They cannot see the inmates, and they can't hear the inmates. So we're limited to a specific site that we can put them. What we're trying to work out is we can have a pathway to get them from this facility to the courthouse without loading them in a vehicle, taking 2 employees use
That's
to get them
great.
there.
That'll save some money right there.
Yeah, the food will come from the jail.
Where will that, and again, you may not, where will that be on that site? Will it be back behind that?
So if you know,
auto
when you
part-
come down by the car dealership and you turn right on Hart's Chapel, there's
Mm-hmm.
the corner lot, we would be the next lot.
Okay. Where the old church was? Oh, or the other
That
side?
side, but it's down.
Yeah,
I
it's
got
down.
you.
But it's on the
Okay.
site itself. It would be Shelby.
I got you.
not
Okay.
the sheriff's office.
The good thing, 3 or 4 years ago, the mayor went ahead and ran sewer and water, all the utilities through the back of those lots that we
Saves a
currently own. And right now, that would be astronomical.
That's huge. Okay, does anybody have any other questions?
I have a question. This is more for the mayor. Can we get a comparison? I know this normally goes to the law enforcement committee, but how many juveniles that we're having from Bedford County on average from last year to this year? I had an individual from the juvenile court that reached out to me, was saying that they're doing more commuted sentences to where they're letting them do this. They're being able to work their sentences out from home. And so we're not seeing as many housed as we did 12 months ago or even 24 months ago. So I didn't know if we could maybe get a spreadsheet that shows kind of our losses from 22, 23 and 21, 22, because what I'm hearing from them is that we're not housing near the number of juveniles now as we did 3 years ago when we kind of started sounding the alarms that we were kind of needing a large facility.
We'll have her here, and she's normally here for this. But just in one of our last meetings, I believe she told me she's turning down 30 a month,
Yeah, she's
about
doing
one a
well.
day,
She has been.
because whatever the reason, if they're gang related from another county, we may not take those. But we're turning people away, and the
I'm
other
talking
thing.
about just Bedford County individuals, because, we're bringing in people, but we're still showing a $500,000 loss this year. And I'm just wanting to compare that loss to last year.
Right, you will be able to house more in this model than you were the current model that you have, correct?
But that takes on more staff.
Without more staff.
Yeah, he said the cameras would take care of that.
I think they've been.
Like from December to January to spring and August to December would be the semesters. Runs about over 200 a year. But Kelly has all those statistics and the percentages of the ones that are ours.
And Can you remind me, Jeff, how many beds this is adding? How many beds this is adding to
We're
what
gonna
we
have
currently
18. I
have?
don't know what they currently have.
It's, okay, that's what I
I
thought.
would like to comment on what, because Drew, we went through the same.
We did.
Exercise
We
that you're
did.
bringing up. And one of the things you have to realize, this isn't either we do it or we don't do it. We've got to do it in some capacity because there's not that many facilities that will take. Cookville is probably the closest one. If they're full, then we've got to take them to Chattanooga or Memphis. So we're really restricted from a state standpoint. And Mark Anderson this is one of their top priorities for the state right now, figuring out the solution to this problem. My other concern is, and we had a meeting today with some of the school board, we've got about 2,200 lots already approved for Bedford County, coming of houses that are going to be built over the next 4 years. So not all those kids are going to be great kids. You know, we're going to have to deal with some of that growth from this standpoint also. And we looked at what it was going to cost us if we sent them out. We got out of we had to build a holding cell. We are going to have to build some type of facility no matter what. Because if a kid gets in trouble on Friday, we're only allowed to keep them so many hours in a facility. And if they have to go to Cookville, we would have to drive them to Cookville. If we have a male and a
Multiple
female, that's
times.
2 employees with 2 vehicles. We've got to take them to Cookville. Then we got to go pick them up either Sunday night or Monday, bring them back to court here, and then whatever's decided, we may have to turn around and take them back to Cookville. So it's we did about a year study trying to figure out, does it make sense?
I mean, is there juvenile courts in all the counties? Like Coffee and Lincoln? I mean, I'm not seeing, they don't have facilities, so I'm trying to.
Well, they're paying to send them out.
They're
And the
paying us,
cost to
so
send them out, when we looked at
Originally,
it,
we were only getting,
was way higher.
if somebody came from Rutherford County and Rutherford County was getting 140 and we were only getting 110, we were only getting 110. But so we met with Judge Rich. So whatever a county is getting, if we have to take a kid from another county and their fee is higher than what we're currently getting, we get that fee. And we
I mean, I'm just saying, with the new facility with 18 beds, are we gonna see a significant loss or a significant reduction in that loss of revenue?
Probably not, because you're still gonna have to
You're
be
looking
paying
at
for your county.
$400,000.
So we're paying a $5
Yeah.
million building and gonna continue to take a $500,000 loss every year. Yeah, and it's hard math for me to swallow. I know we've got to do something, but I
Correct me if I'm
feel
wrong.
like go
If
ahead.
we're having to transport kids to the other county, that's taking either an officer or a deputy off the street to do
No,
that,
they come
correct?
get them. If they're a Rutherford County,
But I'm talking
Yeah, we're
about
talking about
ours.
ours. Oh, yeah, yeah,
If we're
it
having
does.
to
And
transport
the
them to
two
Chattanooga, we're losing.
we own it.
Yeah, the two
Deputies.
significant things that we're hearing in the business, again, from the mayor perspective, more than the court system. Here's the problem for an officer, arrest a juvenile. They're responsible for that juvenile till they place them somewhere. So he can spend the next 8 hours of his whole shift trying to figure out where to put that kid if you don't have somewhere to take them. Because, and I get your argument, and I have some sympathy to that. If we weren't in the business, if we didn't already have all the infrastructure in place to hold kids, I don't know if I would be as confident that this is the best decision, but because we're in the business, if we were to get out of the business, sort of like the ambulance business, you trade it off to somebody and they come in and say, oh, we'll do it for free, or just give us your equipment, and then they don't do what they're supposed to, and you wind up back with ambulances that are broke down and you're paying a supplement and they run off all your good help. And even if, I don't know where the closest county is that can take a kid from us, even if the rate's $150 and we say, well, that's not bad, we can live with it. As soon as they don't have any access, their rate's going to go to $300. You ain't going to have no choice but pay it. And so I don't think anybody believes that fewer people are moving to Bedford. I don't think anybody believes there's fewer kids in the school system. Than it grows every year, all the way back from our time there. We see it every year. the delinquency thing, kids are not, I don't think that data is accurate, that we're not seeing issues with kids. Now, the court systems
I
are
didn't say
trying.
that we didn't. I wanted to
Yeah,
get the
yeah,
data
the
so we
court
could
system
compare.
is certainly trying to give relief to places that don't have somewhere to put a child. But we hear from the court system all the time, and I believe Judge Rich has even spoke about this in this committee as well. When you don't have anywhere to put the kid that's done the offending, and you put them back in the home because there's nowhere to go, that's not a good situation for everybody either. So, unfortunately, the government, that is where we wind up, is doing the things that other people won't do. If it was profitable, the private sector would do it, and it won't be. But same thing with the jail. We have obligations to do some things, but that's a decision that's yours. for
Well,
sure.
and a couple things to point out is one thing that I didn't understand as a commissioner when I first came on is that when they talk about a loss with juvenile, it's the cost of juvenile is what it is. It's not necessarily a loss. That is your cost to take care of your juvenile. And we already studied this. If we send them out, the cost was greater than building a facility. We've already looked at all that, and
And you have
that's
the
what we've
opportunity to
been
recover
studying.
funds that
Yeah.
you don't currently
And
get.
I didn't think it would be that way when we studied it. I was thinking like you. I was thinking just send them out and it's going to be cheaper. But when we got to looking at it, you had to still keep the same amount of staff. You're going to have to transport a whole lot more. The cost of that, and you look at medical expenses if they're in another county, and then they've got to go to a doctor. You've got to drive them all the way back, and I mean it added up and added up
They
and
even
added
say
up.
the data suggests that police officers aren't arresting juveniles when they know it's going to be difficult for them to do something with them. And I'm not saying if they did something heinous, but I'm just saying. So again, it's got a lot of adverse effects whenever we don't step up and do it. But again, Bedford is growing. We're not shrinking. It's going to be a bigger problem next year than it was this year. There's just a mathematical certainty. So.
And we did do those studies and have all those dollar amounts of what we found, and we handed it out and did that study. How long ago was that? A year ago, maybe? No, it was with this commission.
Oh,
It was at the beginning. We handed it out and gave the dollar amounts, and we can try to find that again if if anybody needs it.
I would just like
We
to
can
say,
find a
I
one-year-
mean, again, I'm not saying we shouldn't
Oh,
do
no, I
this.
know.
What I'm trying to do is I'm getting questions from individuals that say that we are not housing the same number of Bedford County kids this year as we did 2 years ago when we ran a lot of those numbers. I'm not saying that's accurate or not accurate. What I'm saying is can we get the data to look at that? That's all I'm asking.
Sure.
Well, why don't we request that data, and then when did you say the new information for
we should have the
state
new information
requires?
from the state next week, because then I can get some hard plans and give you some cost detail, probably by the middle of April.
I can get with Kelly too and get, all those numbers again, and we can give that next month as well. Yeah, it's been going on a long time.
I just wish we were in a position of Lincoln County or Moore County, because they have no facility. They rely on us. So we're gonna build them a $5 million facility to house their children. Yeah, you don't have to, but we'll have to.
We have
get
to pay us
revenue.
back.
I mean, we would be better off being Lincoln County or Moore County and let Bedford County build us a facility, and we're in good shape. It's just tough.
It is a lot, because the one we have right now is falling apart, so we're gonna have to do something. Yeah. It's hard. It's been difficult to study it and look at it, and I don't think anybody's really wanted to do anything for a while. That's why it's taken us so long to get here, unfortunately.
Everybody good?
Any questions for Jeff? Okay. So that's information just for us, and we'll get back with that, and I'll get with Kelly for next month. Okay, new business. Does anybody have any other old business before we move forward? Okay, new business is the surplusing the vehicles like, Mark Thomas talked about with the fire department with the, 3 vehicles.
Ready for that? All right. Make a motion to surplus the 1967, both of the Jeeps, and both of those will be surplus with no title. And then also surplus the 1982 Sutphen with the proceeds of that going to the Unionville Volunteer Fire Department.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any announcements? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I know.